One of the main plant stress factors is water deficiency, since water is a basic necessity of the life. Drought will result in the shortage of water, thereby preventing the entry of water into the plant cells. The two most crucial physiological activities for crop yield, growth, and the photosynthesis are obviously affected by water deficit. Deficiency of the cellular water, it hinders the plant's growth, and it can cause membrane damage, alteration in the solids concentrations, protein denaturations, and loss of vinegar. Rice plants that were planted in Malaysia is one of the examples that describe these situations. So generally, low-land rice plants that are mostly planted in Malaysia, it requires a high amount of water to grow, where they need water supply continuously for up to 2 weeks before harvest. Meanwhile, upland rice plants that are rarely planted in Malaysia, it does not require a high amount of water, and they are able to grow even though they do not get enough water supply. But just like I mentioned before, water deficit can affect the crop yield. So the low-land rice plant that get enough and high amount water supply will be able to provide satisfactory paddy yields. While upland rice plant that do not get enough water, even though they are able to survive in insufficient water condition, but still they will produce less crop yield. So for further understanding on the key role of the water as a plant stress factor in the difference between upland rice and low-land rice plant, I will pass to another presenter for a briefing on it.
Lowland rice production system which continuously grown under flooding. Next slide. The difference between lowland rice and upland rice is, firstly, lowland rice is grown in an area with elevation usually no higher than 200 meters from sea level. Furthermore, lowland rice is grown on wet soil. Next, lowland rice is subject to floods. Flooding is a recurring phenomenon in several lowland rice growing areas. Approximately 1/4 of the global rice crop, like 40 million hectares, are grown in rain-fed lowland plots that are prone to seasonal flooding. Even though rice is a reasonably flooding-tolerant crop, the annual incurred by farmers due to flood is large. But a great progress has been made during last 2 decades in our understanding of the mechanism involved in adaptation and tolerance to flooding in rice. Genetic mechanism of rice for tolerance to flooding, which is quiescence and elongation, are two major and opposite strategies to encounter the effects of flooding during flash and deep water flooding, respectively. Lowland rice is grown in rain-fed, where the fields are abundant and flooded with rainwater for at least a part of the cropping season. The major method of rice establishment is transplanting, but direct weed and dry seeding is also practiced. Deep water or floating rice is established by broadcasting rice seed in plowed fields and is normally grown unbedded in regions where the water level rises quickly after the beginning of the monsoon. The rice productivity in rain-fed lowland areas is very low. Lastly, irrigated lowland production system. Irrigated lowland rice production system is the most important rice production for food security of Asian countries and typically grown under flooded conditions. The most common method of establishment of this production system is transplanting. Irrigated rice is grown in budded fields or paddies, which are surrounded by a small leaf that keeps the water surrounded. One or more rice crops can be grown per year as the water supply is assured. The rice productivity in irrigated lowland areas is very high than the rain-fed lowland areas.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Saad and I will be presenting about upland rice. Upland rice is a form of paddy that is grown on hillside areas in mineral soils or soils without water stagnation. First of all, upland rice is grown in an area above 200 meters such as in intertropical highland locations. Next, upland rice is grown on naturally well-drained soils with no water accumulation on the surface of the soil. Moving on, upland rice has less fertile soil than the lowland rice. This is because the upland rice is grown in different altitudes up to 2000 meters with soil diverse and ranging from very fertile soils to acidic and infertile soils. Usually, only about 15% of the upland rice is grown in the most ideal conditions with very fertile soils and long growing seasons. Next, upland rice is grown in rain-fed. Upland rice is seeded in dry conditions and remain in the field until the harvest. The harvest begins in rain-fed conditions on wet seasons or during rain season. Finally, upland rice has a low yield potential because of the upland environment, which is very harsh with sloping lands, soil erosions, and with soil with both poor physical and chemical properties. Upland environment with this harsh is known as low productivity area because of the less fertile soil, limited water supply, and hence producing a low yield potential. That's all from me. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Fatin Arina. So now I will talk about the conclusion. The cultivation of upland and lowland rice is remain important activity for the rural community as it provides them with the staple food. The lowland and upland rice are two ecotypes adapted to contrasting soil water status, originating mainly because of their differentiated drought resistance. So the main difference of lowland and upland rice is lowland rice is grown on wet soil that are flooded with rainwater, while upland rice grown on dry soil without accumulation of water. So the soil without the accumulation of water make the upland rice is drought tolerant, while lowland rice is drought intolerant. Obviously, there is a high potential in exploring the rice cultivation under moisture regimes that save water and also increase productivity. The yield production of the lowland and upland rice are different due to the water content. The lowland rice has high yield production because of the soil is flooded with the water, while the yield production of the upland rice is lower because of the soil without water accumulation. That's all from my team. Thank you.